So next, let's take a look at reading. So we'll actually have two methods for that. I'm going to demonstrate a simple read. So just read all of the records from a specific table. And then we're going to take a look at how to do a join with these Hibernate queries. So first of all, let's do a simple read. So I'll do a static method here. It's going to return this value. So it's going to return this list of accounts, read all accounts. And for this, I simply need to pass in my entity manager. The Hibernate query will look something like this. So select, and in SQL, we usually say something select all or give it a column list. But in Hibernate, we say select A, which is going to be the alias from account ent A. So we select the alias from the entity, and then we give it the alias. And that's it. This is like a select all. And now I'm going to have a try block here. So we'll say ctx.createQuery. We give it the Hibernate query. And we don't need to start the transaction or commit any transaction. We're only reading here. There's no data mutation involved. So there's no transaction required here. But now with our create query, we have an overload here. We can specify the class it needs to take. So this class argument here is going to tell this thing, those records that you get from the database, you convert them into this class. Now let's just see here, there's no parameter to specify. So I can simply do, instead of execute update, as with the other queries, the other statements, I'll now have this get result list. This is going to read all of those records, convert them into objects of this type, and then return that result. So we can have a list of account objects here. I'll call this accounts. This will be read from the database and stored in this variable, and then I can return this value. Otherwise, I'll simply catch the exception and then print the message, but I still need to return something. So I'll return null if there's an error. Now, because this is a simple read, any exception here might indicate that there's a problem with our database. Let's run this query and see what it does. So I'll do a list of accounts, call this my accounts, and then I'll say read all accounts and pass in my context. Then if the accounts is not null, I'm going to do a for each loop on account, A in accounts, and then simply S out the username, for instance. So running this, we should see at least one account in here. And now let's take a look at a slightly more complicated select. I'm going to select trades for a specific account based on the username. So in normal SQL, that will involve some sort of join statement. So select all from trades, join account on the foreign key. In this case, it's going to be account ID, where the joined table username equals some value. In our case, because we're using entities, we have access to the entire entity object in our Hibernate query. So let me quickly set up some code to create trades. All right, here we go. I have this private static void create trade. So I'm just going to set up some trades. I can do that in here, in fact. So create a trade. I need to give it a CTX. The open price is going to be 1.14. And then the owning account. This is what I needed these accounts for. So I can have account get first. So now if I run this, maybe a couple of times, and I go select all from trades, we now have these trade objects in here. So going back to my program, I'm going to comment all this code out and then have a list of trade. Call this trades, and then I'm going to call this method read trades for, and I need some sort of username. I'll pass in the context and the username, and that's it. Let's go define this method. Way down here, I'll say private static list. This will return trades. Select all four. Let's pass in the CTX and the username. The Hibernate query will now look like this. So select T, so select the alias from the trade entity, and I give it the T alias. And now to do this sort of join thing with this username, we have access to the entire entity. That means if we take a look at the entity, this owning account object is on there somewhere. So we can have a where clause, and we say where T dot. I'm going to grab this field name for this owning account, and then do another dot where a username equals some username argument that I pass in. So this will take care of doing that join. Then I'm going to copy this code here where it says try to select a list of trades. It's going to be ctx create query, and we're actually going to be dealing with trade objects. I need to set a parameter. It's going to be this username parameter. So the name is username and the argument is also username. And then I'll return trades. Let's give this a go. I'm going to simply say for trade t in trades, simply output t dot, I don't know, trade ID. So let's run this. And there we go. We get 2 results back. So that does it for the select. Probably the most important one here is going to be this one. Hibernate takes care of converting this into a SQL statement with the correct joins in there. But because we're working with the entities, we can use it as if this entire owning account object is returned in this statement. So we have this bit of syntax here. So that does it for the select.